I've had moments in my life when it seems like everything is difficult and up for grabs. There have been times in my life where I've had to deal with major career changes, question long-term relationships, and grapple with what my true purpose is in a world that often seems chaotic. So how do you transform adversity into opportunity when it seems like the deck is constantly stacked up against you? And how do you achieve personal and professional success if you feel like you frequently run up against emotional roadblocks? Jack Canfield has some answers for you. Jack is an internationally renowned teacher, motivational speaker, truth seeker, and life changer. He's been at the cutting edge of the personal transformation movement for decades and has helped countless people overcome personal obstacles and negative self-talk so they can manifest their dreams. His co-authored book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, has sold so many copies worldwide that it's in the Guinness Book of World Records. But Jack wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. On the contrary, he went from floor sweeper to soul seeker and became an acclaimed entrepreneur the old-fashioned way, by working his way through life's obstacles one step at a time. I met up with Jack at his home in Santa Barbara to find out more about how he transformed adversity into opportunity and helped so many people. Join me.
I grew up in a home where my mother was an alcoholic, my father was an alcoholic, my father was violent. I got beaten a lot, not like with whips and chains, but I mean, there was a lot of physical punishment, if you will, and some of it was, when my dad was drinking, I would hide. I was born in 1944, back in the 50s, radios were these things that were like this far off the ground and came down. There was a little bit of that technology, and it was a speaker, and then most of it was just like empty cabinetry. And when my dad was drinking late at night, I would go and hide in there, and I'd pull it back against the wall so he couldn't find me. The good news is it's made me what they call hypervigilant. I notice everything around me. If anything's out of place, like my dad would notice, then he'd get upset. So that's been valuable. But then I went to college. I was a scholarship student. I went to a good school, Harvard. But I was always like...
How did you get into Harvard?
I played football.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right.
They needed an end, so I got in there. I ended up playing rugby, not football, but I graduated in the top, 1/10 of my class, but mainly it was, if you were from West Virginia, they always took 2 people from West Virginia every year. If I was from Pennsylvania or California, I don't think I would have got in. But I had a great experience there. I majored in Chinese history, which is a whole other story. I think I had past lives in China, and that was starting to seep through. And then I ended up teaching in an all-black inner-city high school, and that's when it all shifted for me. I was kind of interested in civil rights because I was interested in equality, but what really shifted for me was my students didn't believe in themselves. They were all these kids who'd never been more than 5 blocks from their house. They didn't think they could succeed. Their parents hadn't succeeded. And so that's literally how Chicken Soup for the Soul started. I was gathering these stories of African Americans who had succeeded to show these kids that was possible and to get them stimulated to think, well, it's worth extending effort so you can get that. I was teaching this one school and the principal said, my husband's company needs what you're doing. And I said, I've never worked in a company. I don't know what to tell people in a company.
I'm just Jack, little Jack.
Exactly. The only job I ever had was a floor sweeper in a General Electric plant one summer between college and graduate school. And she said something to me that changed my life. She said, they're just big kids in suits. Now you go over and teach them. Because you've taught kids,
that.
Right? And it turned out to be true.
Yes.
And so that's how I started doing corporate trainings and public trainings, and then...
So you were doing that before Chicken Soup?
Yeah, I was basically, I started being a trainer and doing workshops for the general public on the weekends and working with corporations and schools in the middle of the week. It was about a 1-month period where people were going like, that story you told about the puppies, is that in a book anywhere? My daughter needs to hear that. That story you told about the Boy Scout, is that in a book anywhere? My son needs to read it. The story you told about that sales guy, my sales team needs to hear that. And I kept going, wow, God, I was coming home on a plane when God's telling me, put these stories in a book. It's like, boom, 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 all it's like messages. If the story illustrated a principle of success, of taking 100% responsibility, of being compassionate, of being loving, of going for your dream, overcoming obstacles, believing in yourself, I would gather that story. And then I would pepper them into my speeches. And so I made this commitment that I would write 2 stories a week for a year. Then I'd have 100 stories. So I started to find some others, and along the way I met Mark Victor Hansen. I think I had about 70 at the time. He had been a student ambassador to India when he was in graduate school. And he said, 101 is the number of completion, we should have 101. And I'll get 31, you've got 70. And so that's what we did. And that became our partnership that now has produced over 250 books, 500 million sold, 500 million, and I think it's now up to 57 languages around the world.
That is incredible.
Yeah, but more importantly to me was to impact the world, to end suffering, to create more joy and happiness and peace and so forth in the world. And I think the same was true for Mark. So that was what motivated us. If you do what you love and you do it well and it makes a difference, the money will follow. You'll make enough money to do what you need to do, you know, to get the education you need, the support you need, the healthcare you need, etc. And a lot of times your wealth will come to you not in cash or gold, but it'll come to you when someone says, can you house sit in my house for 3 months in Malibu? Would you like to go on this cruise with me? You know, I'd like you to come and be part of this project we're doing. And you get all the things you need to fulfill your purpose. It just doesn't necessarily come in the form of like a check for $100,000.
Right.
I think if you're aligned with your true purpose, which a lot of people aren't, they never really figured out what that is. And if they did, they never committed to it fully. If you're living in a high vibration of consciousness.
Yes.
And so
Bingo.
I think that's
Vibration.
true. It's vibration.
Yes.
Is how conscious are you? How loving are you? Have you forgiven everyone in your life? Are you living in a state of joy? Are you coming from a place of service, seva, etc.? And I also think the other thing that stops people is they have unconscious limiting beliefs. There's beliefs they have they don't know they have. I'll give you a quick example. One of the clients that one of my partners I'm writing a book with a woman right now, Lisa Janelle, and she had this client who was an Olympic level athlete. And all of her times when she practiced were like Olympic level winning. And then when she would compete, she wouldn't perform at the same level. She went back in time to when she was about 10 or 11, and she remembered saying to her mother, how come when I win all these medals and trophies and ribbons, you don't display them like all my friends are on the bulletin boards and they have bookcases and stuff? And she said, well, whenever you win, it makes your brother feel bad because he's not winning at anything. And so she decided at 11, when I win, it hurts people I love. And so now, and she forgot she made that decision, but it's still in there running her. And once those limiting beliefs are brought to the surface and removed, it's like taking the emergency brake off on a car. You don't have to push any harder on the gas, but as soon as that brake is released, boom, car goes faster.
So what is one thing you would tell someone today, like that's transformed your life? Like someone in their 20s, what's one thing you could say, just do this and this will help you on your journey?
Well, I always say when people ask me the one thing question, you know, what's one technique in your book? What's one thing? I always say, if you only keep one organ in your body, which one would you keep?
Yeah, you're dead anyway. Yeah,
you're dead, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which one you keep. Yeah. So I think it's a combination of things. I think you have to spend time figuring out what your purpose is. And there's a lot of technology for doing it today. You have to decide what you want. One of the teachers in India said, look, 95% of people in the world don't know what they want. They just don't know.
It's true.
He said,
or they think they do, but they don't.
Yeah, the 5% who do, 3% know how to get it. And of the 2% left over, only 1% knows how to enjoy it when they get it.
Yes.
So success is knowing what you want, how to get it, and how to enjoy it when you get it. 1% of the people achieve that. I think those things are important. You got to figure out what is it you truly want. Spend time studying the laws of success, not just the law of attraction, but there's a lot of laws of success. For me, how the success principles work, the core principles are, number one, you have to take 100% responsibility for your life. No blaming, no complaining, no excuse making. Most people never do that. Most people are victims. They're not victors.
Some people I know, this happened at 6, and that's how they're still, absolutely.
There was a play on Broadway, if it wasn't for you, this would be a great relationship.
Right. I was beaten when I was a kid. I was abused.
Exactly.
Everyone has something.
And then you've got to figure out what is your purpose. What is your purpose? And there's a lot of ways to do that. And then you've got to decide what's my vision of how I want to fulfill that purpose. So
give me one way, because I get that all the time.
Sure.
How do you find a passion? How do you find a purpose?
Well, there's a book called The Passion Test you can read by Janet and Chris Atwood. If you do the process in there, that will help you. And they do great workshops as well. For me, the easiest way to find your purpose is to do what we call a joy review. Just look back over your life and say, where have I felt the greatest amount of joy? For me, it was always when I was teaching. I was a teacher in high school. I was a teacher in the Boy Scouts. I was the troop leader, as it were. I was the vice president of my fraternity. I would have been the president, but I had a beard, and they didn't want a guy with a beard as a president. I taught high school. I can remember like moments when I was teaching that were just extraordinarily fulfilling for me. And then inspiring people with chicken soup stories. And I love to tell stories and watch people go, oh my God, that's so cool. In my book, The Success Principles, there's a little paper and pencil test that, yes, very good. See, you told me you modeled in Japan. You do that very well.
Thank you.
You have your inner Vanna White comes out. You know?
I love that. You look awesome in
Thank
there
you.
too. You
Thank
look successful.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, in the section on purpose, and I'll take your viewers through this, is that you ask yourself, what are 2 qualities that I love to express that are me? So mine are love and joy. My wife is authenticity and spontaneity. Someone else, it might be order and leadership or whatever. Then you say, how do I most enjoy expressing those qualities when I'm with other people? So for me, it's inspiring them, chicken soup for the soul stories, empowering them with things like in the Success Principles. And then the last question you ask is, if the world was working perfectly according to me, what would be happening? For me, it's everyone's living their highest vision.
Yeah.
So if you were doing your highest vision, I'm doing mine, and my wife's doing hers, then all the needs would get met. It's when we stop doing what we're meant to do because we were talked out of it, bullied out of it, told ourselves we couldn't do it, whatever, that we don't do the thing we're coming. And I believe that the universe has in it everything that needs to be fulfilled. There's someone born to do that. People love to cook.
Yes.
There are people who love to make movies. There's people who love to make music. There's people who love to do mechanical things. All that's there. So my life purpose is inspiring and empowering people to live their highest vision in a context of love and joy.
I could sit here and talk to you all day.
Someday we'll do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I so enjoyed talking with Jack. He's a true visionary with a unique blend of compassion, wisdom, and street smarts. Jack is here to remind us that in order to find our purpose in life, we need to identify unconscious limiting beliefs. Once you find your purpose, success awaits you as long as you have a clear vision. It's important to know what you want, how to get it, and how to enjoy it once you have it. You have to take 100% responsibility for your life. No excuses. All great leaders remind us that freedom takes responsibility. Life is a hero's journey. Jack's story is a reminder of what philosopher Joseph Campbell taught us. We all go through trials in life. But if we commit to our personal development and follow our bliss, those trials will eventually lead us to our purpose in life and our authentic soul. Amen to that.